How is the lads? Welcome back to a brand new video. I know it has been a while. I have been swamped at school with projects all the way through, and now I am here back with another video, hopefully one of many soon to come. But without any further ado, I suggest we get straight back into it with every team's player of the season this season, in my opinion, why I think they are the player of the season for that respective Premier League club, and maybe some honorable mentions along the way as well. Kicking things off, I suggest we start at the top of the table with the champions elect, Liverpool. And well, I think we are going to speak a little bit more about Liverpool's last game when we get to a certain cup winner later on in this video. But when it comes to Liverpool, I mean, there is no denying how class Mohamed Salah has been this season, and he has to be the player of the season, probably in the Premier League, but for Liverpool as well. With I think it's 27 goals and 17 assists in just 29 games. Those are absolutely freakish monster numbers. You see it every game he plays. He gets at least a goal involvement. It's an all-time season for Mohamed Salah, and he's most likely going to be able to end that season with a Premier League trophy, which is not bad at all, in my opinion. I think Mohamed Salah maybe has been disrespected a little bit in the last month due to Liverpool's poor performances, but we can't forget what an amazing season he has had so far. So my shout for Liverpool is obviously Mohamed Salah. The second club is Arsenal, and Arsenal is a bit more of a tough one because they have had quite a difficult season, in my opinion. Obviously, they're still in second, which is where they were last season, and I think where they ended the season before as well, if I'm not mistaken. But this second place feels a whole lot different the third time around. I think a lot of fans expected when City would eventually drop off, it would be their year, and Liverpool have kind of stolen their thunder with Arne Slot at the helm now. They have also had some injuries, some very, very key injuries. The likes of Saka come to mind. Odegaard has missed large portions of the season. Martinelli has. Havertz has now. Gabriel Jesus. So they have had to play Miguel Merino up front. But if we are being honest, Arsenal most likely is still one of the three best defenses in Europe, along with Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan. So you do have to give them credit for that. And where Saliba has looked a little leggy in the big games, especially after Champions League nights, which isn't that strange, but it's also something you kind of have to note when his partner, Gabriel, who is my shout for Arsenal's player of the season, hasn't looked laggy one bit in maybe any game this season for Arsenal. He's an unbelievable goal threat as well from set pieces, which just adds another very useful string to his bow. But even if you take away the goal threat, I think he has been Arsenal's most reliable defender this season, the one everybody looks at to calm things down, to structure and organize the defense, whereas Saliba is more the glitter and glamour type center back, the Rolls Royce type center back who can do a lot of brilliant stuff on the ball. I think Gabriel's ruggedness has really helped them just steady the ship this season, and there's a lot to be said for that. What an amazing season Nottingham Forest have had so far. Sitting pretty in third when it's game week 30, I think, right around the corner. That's unbelievable. If you told any football fan Nottingham Forest would be here at this point in the season, I think they would have called you crazy at the start of the season. But here we are. Massive credit to Nuno Espirito Santo. And I think this is one of those clubs who need to get a lot of honorable mentions. The entire defense could probably get honorable mentions. Matsels, Ola Aina, Milenkovic, who has probably been the best value for money summer transfer, in my opinion. Murillo has had a fantastic season yet again. Nico Williams hasn't been bad at all. Maybe if you go into the midfield, I think a special mention has to be given to Elliot Anderson because he has been absolutely fantastic for them and has been really unfortunate, in my opinion, to miss out on an England cap. He is one of the best ball carrying midfielders in the Premier League. I don't think there are many central midfielders who are as comfortable in beating a man as Elliot Anderson has proven to be this season, so he deserves a massive shout out. Morgan Gibbs White too, obviously, but it just has to be Chris Wood. Chris Wood has to be Nottingham Forest Player of the Season. He is banging in goal after goal after goal after goal. And where was this when he was playing in black and white? That's what I'm asking. Let's not make this about Newcastle for a second. Chris Wood has done absolutely amazing things for Nottingham Forest this season. They deserve to be in third position and in very real contention for Champions League football next season. Nottingham Forest, congratulations. Chelsea is a tough one as well because they started the season very, very brightly. I think a lot of people had very great things to say about Enzo Maresca and the way he kind of picked the first 11 and then a European 11 and didn't really interchange between the two. But if we are being honest, the results have dried up a lot, and so have the performances over the past couple of 2 months, maybe 3 months. I think right before or maybe during the Christmas period, it already started to crumble a bit for Chelsea. But right now, Cole Palmer is struggling for any sort of form. He's still creating a lot of chances, but they aren't put away. Especially now, Nicholas Jackson has been injured for quite a while. But I think if we have to give one player the credit at Chelsea, that whatever the team performs, like his performance levels never drop below a 7 out of 10 at least, I think it's Moises Caicedo. Caicedo is probably one of the best defensive midfield, especially young defensive midfielders in the world. He's showing that now for Chelsea, especially the first half of the season. He was absolutely fantastic. But Chelsea's defense is still very, very porous. Um, a lot of that has to do with the personnel around him and the tactics. I think he's not helped by Enzo Maresca when he has to fill in at right back because Enzo wants to use inverted fullbacks into the midfield. I think that jeopardizes kind of why you spend 120 million pounds on a midfielder like Moises Caicedo. But there is obviously a very, very class player there, and I think he has had a good season, so I would like to award him with Chelsea's Player of the Season. As for Manchester City, they have had quite the drop off this season, haven't they? I think a lot has been made of both why they have dropped off the way they did, and how steep the drop off has been. They are still in contention for Champions League positions, so I think maybe some people are kind of exaggerating the drop off a little bit, but if we are being honest, this is still Manchester City, a very, very good football team who shouldn't really have lost the games they did uh, when they went on that terrible run. I think it was November, December time. But if we have to give it to one Manchester City player, I think I would like to give it to Guardiol. He has made some defensive mistakes this season, but I think a lot of City players just had their confidence drained, and Guardiol just offers a lot to this team, especially from left back. He's a marauding left back who contributes both in the attacking third and in the defensive third, which is kind of crazy if you think about the fact that he actually is more of a central defender by trade. But Guardiola keeps on getting the absolute maximum out of him, so I think he deserves a shout for Manchester City Player of the Season. Now, let's take a moment, take some time to talk about this one. Newcastle United, Cup winners, 2025 EFL Cup winners. It is now pretty much exactly a week when I'm recording this since we have won the trophy, and I'll be honest, it still hasn't really set in what this group of players have achieved and could potentially go on to achieve. I think let's get the obvious shout out of the way. When it comes to our player of the season, it's most likely Alexander Isak, and well deserved. He is a phenomenon. He is fantastic, and I pray to God we can keep hold of him this summer. But before we get into that particular but, let's just talk about the final for a second. How good were we? We dominated Liverpool in every aspect of the game. You can go literally player by player, and I'm gonna do that real quick because I hear every YouTuber tell you you can go player by player in Newcastle's 11 and praise the lot of them, but then they don't because don't want to make the time for it. I'm going to make the time for it. Nick Pope, absolutely fantastic performance. Great save towards the end of the first half, which kept us in the lead. And that's massive at halftime for the confidence. Tino Livramento had an unbelievable game, pocketed Salah the entire way through. That means both Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento have pocketed the Premier League PFA Player of the Season elect in this season, and none of those games were the 3-3 draw. So, I mean, unbelievable performance from him. He was so energetic, so fast, so important for us as well when we were targeting Kwanzaa at right back for Liverpool, which was a very important strategy for Eddie Howe, I think, in open play, especially. Fabian Scher, fantastic performance. Kieran Trippier, one of his best performances in a Newcastle shirt. He was absolutely up for it and showed his experience during the game. Dan Burn, what a story. What an unbelievable story. I am so happy for the lad, and I'm already going to spoil this. He is my Newcastle player of the season. Has he been as good as Alexander Isak has been? Probably not, but I think that's nearly impossible. But if you look at the entire picture, the fact that we have missed Sven Botman pretty much the entire season yet again, the fact that he was our left back last season and has slotted back in at center back seamlessly, the fact that he never performs below a 7 out of 10, even if we are shit, and there have been matches where we were shit this season. His redemption arc has been unbelievable. I absolutely love Dan Burn, and I think give him the recognition he deserves. This is the season of his career. He's going to go down in Newcastle United folklore. Give him the Player of the Season award. Just give it to him. He deserves it. As for the rest of the team, Tonali was absolutely fantastic against Liverpool yet again. Bruno Guimaraes, what a player. The way he dictates the game is unbelievable. He was actually, in my opinion, maybe not when we were defending, but when we were trying to counterattack, he was near something in between an 8 and a 10 because Joelinton was sitting next to Tonali a lot of the time in a double pivot, which meant Joelinton was absolutely everywhere, by the way. Joelinton, literally, there is this one phase where Fabian Schär has stepped out of the backline a little bit too much and Liverpool counterattack us in behind, and Joelinton's there at center back covering for Fabian Schär. It's unbelievable. Bruno Guimaraes, unbelievable. Harvey Barnes did everything he was supposed to do, took the chance he was given by Anthony Gordon, if we're being honest, perfectly well, targeted Kwanzaa throughout the entire 90 minutes, gave him a torrid time. Jacob Murphy was maybe not as great on the ball, but still got his decisive moment with the assist, so that's unbelievably important as well. And off the ball, you know what you get with Jacob Murphy, which is just continuous running and doggedness for the team. And then Alexander Isak. The fact he scores the goal then points to Virgil van Dijk, like, who's this big guy, stands on the advertising boards to just kind of calm the nerves of the Newcastle United supporters. It's unbelievable. Dan Burn, player of the season, for in my opinion, but it's most likely going to be Alexander Isak, if we're being honest. Brighton and Hove Albion. I think we can go over this pretty quickly because in my head there are only two shouts for player of the season. You could say it is Joao Pedro, who is a bit of a troll on fantasy football, but has actually really performed quite admirably for Brighton for more than a year now. I think he is unbelievably important in their attack, but they have a lot of unbelievable attacking components. Think about Mitoma, Minte, Ruter, the list goes on. But I'm going to give it to Baleba because I do think Baleba is the next 100 million pound midfielder. He is class. He just is. He's good at nearly everything. Every asset of his game is fantastic. The way he can drift through midfields, searching for that slicing or defense splitting pass. That's what I was looking for. Uh, Again, his dribbling. He's so hard to get off the ball. He's so intelligent in his decision making, and he's a real strong defender as well. So I think Baleba has to be Brighton's player of the season. For Aston Villa, I do think there is only one shout as well, and it is breakthrough talent Morgan Rogers, because he has had a pretty fantastic season for them. I think the fact that he has now made two back-to-back England squads kind of shows you everything you need to know about him. And in a period where some people are asking questions of Manchester City with letting go of their academy stars, players like Liam Delap, obviously players like Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers kind of deserves to be in those conversations as well, in my opinion. Bournemouth is a hard one because this is genuinely kind of like Nottingham Forest, a unit, not necessarily a team with one or two amazingly talented players who are carrying them, but genuinely a collective of individuals who one exactly do as Andoni Iraola envisions for them on the field, but two are so exciting to watch. They seem like they can score from pretty much any type of situation. Any type of attacking scenario seems threatening when Bournemouth is on the ball. But I would actually like to give the player of the season to Sabarni, because all of the talk is about Dean Huizen, and rightly so. For a 19-year-old centre back, he is fantastic, and I think Spain have their backline set for a very long time with Kubarsi and Huizen, because they kind of make up for each other's weak spots, which is very unfortunate if you are any other football fan than a Spain football supporter. But as for Sabarni, he doesn't get spoken about nearly as much as Dean Huizen, but he's still very young at 22 years of age. Rarely do you see such a young centre back partnership flourish the way that those two have this season. S- they seem unfazed by pretty much any attacking player in the league, which is unbelievable. And I think Sabarni has been so solid for Bournemouth, such an such a silent worker, in my opinion. Which I mean, silent worker probably isn't the right word, but someone who you don't really notice throughout the game, but is absolutely vital to everything Bournemouth are doing. So I think that's why Zabarni has to be the player of the season for them. Fulham. When it comes to Fulham, I want to talk about Alex Iwobi. I know a lot of people are going to ask me, why the hell is Anthony Robinson not Fulham's player of the season? Well, let me tell you why. Iwobi is magnificent. Watch a Fulham game and just the things people used to say about Busquets were, if you watch the ball throughout the game, you would see the attacking scenarios, but if you watch Sergio Busquets for 90 minutes, you would see the entire game. And I think the same can be said about Iwobi. He's fantastic. He is evolved into everything that works for Fulham. He is versatile, playing on the left, playing on the right, playing through the middle in a more attacking or defensive minded role. Anything Silva wants of him, he can do, and he does it in absolute style. He's such an intelligent player, never loses the ball in dangerous areas. I genuinely believe if he was still at Arsenal, Arsenal's midfield would be Rice, Iwobi, Ødegaard, and I think that midfield would actually be Klaus as well. So Iwobi, massively underrated, my Fulham player of the season. When it comes to Crystal Palace, I think we can go over this pretty quickly. It's Jean-Philippe Mateta again, just like last season. He started off the season quite slow, but I think the entirety of Crystal Palace started off the season quite slow. Palace then got a lot of honorable mentions, which I am going to mention. Lacroix has been pretty amazing for them. So has Munoz from the right wing back. He's absolutely fantastic. And as someone who lives in Belgium, it's quite nice to see an ex Genki do well in the Premier League. But Adam Wharton and Will Hughes deserve some credit as well. Adam Wharton probably hasn't had enough games to warrant player of the season, but I mean, Will you certainly has, and he has been fantastic for them. Ask any Crystal Palace fan, but it is Mateta. After the turn of the year, before Mateta got injured, his underlying statistics were genuinely, and I mean genuinely, frightening. If he can refine that form for Crystal Palace throughout the last 8 games, 9 games of the season, I genuinely believe Crystal Palace are in with a shout of maybe sneaking into Conference League football, and that would genuinely be really, really crazy. Brentford, it has to be Brian Mbuemo, doesn't it? Wissa obviously is a shout as well. Wissa is very, very good, but I mean, Mbuemo has had such an unbelievable season. I do think Damsgaard obviously needs a mention as well, but Damsgaard more so deserves the mention for what Thomas Frank has done with him, which is taken a very injury prone player under his wing, taking his time with him, and now you see the payoff of that. He's flourishing, but Mbuemo has been fantastic for Brentford, overperforming his XG massively, which only can be a positive because it means he's taking his chances unbelievably well. Yeah, he has to be player of the season. As for Tottenham Hotspur, I've decided to go with Kulusevski. Spurs have had a really, really disappointing season, especially probably due to the injuries they have had um, to the back line mostly. You think of Van de Ven and Romero missing large chunks of the season. Archie Gray having to fill in at centre back, despite him being kind of a defensive midfielder who had some experience playing right back for Leeds last season. But Kulusevski has been magnificent in a lot of important games for Tottenham Hotspur. Anything good that has happened to Spurs this season, I think Kulusevski has been at the forefront of that. So that's why he takes home the Spurs player of the season, in my opinion. As for Manchester United, talking about disappointing seasons, I think we can go over this one pretty quickly. It's probably Ahmad. Maybe an honorable mention for Mazraoui, but that's only because Ahmad has been injured and isn't probably going to come back for the rest of the season. But if he would have played out the entire season, there would have been no question about Ahmad being their player of the season because this was his breakthrough campaign and he dragged them out of a lot of sticky situations. So he just deserves that credit. Everton. This is crazy. Pickford, 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 Pickford. It's always Pickford. Listen, this is a Meckham. I know. And he likes to uh, be an absolute knobhead when he comes to St. James's. But if I'm looking at it from a neutral's point of view, from a more of a journalistic sense, what Jordan Pickford has achieved for both for England and for Everton is absolutely magnificent. He probably deserves to go down as one of England's best goalkeepers, maybe of the century. Maybe. I mean, how long has he been England's first choice number one and deserved to keep that jersey? And the fact that he probably will win Everton's Player of the Season for the fourth time in a row, it's mad. It's genuinely mad. He has kept them in the league for quite a considerable amount of time, which is a very, very impressive achievement for such a big club as Everton. So, yeah, Jordan Pickford, from a neutral's point of view, you deserve all the credit, man. Respect to you. West Ham, it's Jared Bowen, isn't it? They have had a pretty disappointing season. I think Lopetegui, everyone knew that was a weird appointment when it happened. You sack David Moyes because you're looking for a more direct, prettier style of play, and then you hire the Spanish David Moyes, which is odd in my opinion. But I do think Graham Potter is a much better appointment, and he will get this team ticking. Because if you look at the personnel they have, this is a very interesting team. Players like Jared Bowen, who is going to win it in my opinion. Kudus, Paqueta, Evan Ferguson, who is actually there on loan, Kilman, Todibo. There are some very interesting players in this squad for him to work with. But I think Jared Bowen has been the only consistent performer for them this season. Wolverhampton. It's Cunha. Obviously, it's Cunha. Who else could it be but Cunha? I think this is kind of a weird one because he's most likely going to leave in the summer, and I heard some Wolves fans rightly saying they don't necessarily need him to play for them anymore over the remaining few games of the season. And I completely get what they're saying. There was a lot of talk about him leaving in January. It seemed like the club and him kind of made an agreement where he would stay at Wolves, keep them up, and then go in the summer. That's why they. Fuck off. As I was saying before the ice cream van so rudely interrupted me, um, he was given a modest release clause of 62.5 million pounds, but I mean, then he went and got that unbelievably unnecessary and foolish red card, which meant he is missing the most crunch chunk of games for Wolves when it comes to the relegation battle against the likes of Southampton and Ipswich Town, which just means they kind of kept it around for 6 more months, not really contributing to the important games. And therefore, I agree with the Wolves fans that he doesn't necessarily need to play for them anymore. I, for one, would love to see the rumors I saw today of him going to Nottingham Forest for £60 million. Ipswich Town is up next, and it is Liam Delap. I'm thinking if there are any players who maybe come into contention, but it is Liam Delap. That's basically the thick of it. He is the only player who kind of kept them into a shout of staying up, which they most likely aren't. So that's why I'm going to go over the relegated teams pretty quickly as well, because I mean, if you are getting relegated, not that many people will care who their player of the season is, in my opinion, because they just kind of want to forget about the season pretty quickly, which is why Liam Delap, who had the breakthrough season in the Premier League, still deserves this award. When it comes to Leicester City, I think Mats Hermansen very much deserves the award. He is a pretty great goalkeeper, in my opinion, very much Premier League quality. And I think maybe a side like West Ham United or who else could use a goalkeeper? Maybe a Bournemouth next season could look at and very much improve the baseline of their 11. The last team we are go- the last team I want to talk about is Southampton, and I think Southampton's player of the season is a bit more difficult, probably because none of their players have had a great season, but Mateus Fernandes has looked pretty lively in their midfield. I think he is Premier League quality, maybe a transfer for someone like a Wolves, a I think Crystal Palace could do some interesting things with a Mateus Ferreira. I think Fulham could do some interesting things with a Mateus Ferreira. But yeah, he's Southampton's player of the season. So that was it, guys. Those were my player of the seasons for every Premier League club this season. If you did go on to enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like down below and a comment in the comment section telling me who your club's player of the season is and why I am so unbelievably wrong about my picks. Be sure to let us know. Be sure to like and follow all of the pages of Magpie 24/7 as well, both on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You get the gist of it. I would like to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.